within the group and the pressure that the fans put upon themselves, perhaps intentionally, to go on and achieve.
This year they played a final.
Well, yeah.
Against Hull FC for the League Leaders Shield, they effectively won a final.
Yeah, true. And what I'll go on to say is that they played some of the most attractive rugby league you'll see anywhere at times this season. They were when they took the ball around, the way they move and the way they set up to play. Some of the players are really exciting and they're great to watch, which gives them a moral victory, if nothing else, in terms of what we'll go on to talk about later. I just hope that I'd like to see a new name on the trophy. I'd like to see the sport grow in that sense. So let's hope that they can kick on for next year. Speaking of kicking on, we'll kick on as well and talk about Widnes. Mark, you had them finishing top in the qualifiers. I had them finishing second in the qualifiers. In fact, they exceeded our expectations by finishing 7th overall in the league in the top 8 this season. Were they going to be the Leicester City of Super League? Let's find out as we bring you the fan reviews from Paul O'Brien and also from Jack and Paul Lewis.
Hi, my name is Paul O'Brien and this is my review of Widnes Vikings season 2016. Well, the 2016 season started well for the Vikings with 6 wins out of 7. Some great wins over Leeds, Hull and away at Wigan, and with the defeat coming away at Salford. After that it all went downhill with 8 defeats in a row before a narrow win at home against Huddersfield. But then only 4 wins in the last 16 games saw a great start to the season finish very poorly. The regular season ended with a convincing win over Catalan at home and the Vikings finishing in 7th position. Finishing 7th was a great achievement, but there were a few teams like Leeds and Huddersfield who had a poor season, which towards the back end of the season with the way the Vikings were playing could have seen us pushed into the bottom 4 had these teams been playing well. I think our biggest problem with teams, seeing that the way we are attacked in each game, the Mellor-Brown-Hanbury combination worked really well at the start of the season, but other teams got wise to this and put a stop to it. The Super 8 seen the Vikings only win 2 of the 7 games we played, with our only wins coming at home against Wakefield and a 6-8 win away at Wigan, in a game where the Vikings showed incredible defence and togetherness in a penalty-strewn game that saw the Vikings down to 11 players at one point. Player of the season for me has to be Matt Whitley. He's had a great season and continues to improve in each game he plays. My daughter, on the other hand, who is also a Viking season ticket holder, doesn't agree, and her player of the season was Reece Hanbury. So with the 2016 season now concluded, it's onwards towards 2017. Season ticket renewed and hopefully another top 8 finish. Thanks to Mark and Tom for your brilliant podcast. Keep up the good work, guys. That's all from me. Good luck to Widnes next season, and I'm Widnes till I die.
Hello, Tom and Mark, and Super League pod listeners. It's Paul Ludo Lewis and my son Jack. Say hello, Jack.
Hello.
Yeah, and we are another duo, a bit like a budget version of Tom and Mark. The Aldi version of Tom and Mark. Which one would you be, Jack? Do you want to be Tom or Mark?
Tom.
Tom. Unfortunately, I want to make you Mark because you're more of a stato and you've got ginger hair. So you can be Mark and I'll be Tom because he's more popular. Now we're going to quickly go through the Widnes month by month kind of the review. I've actually brought it up on a spreadsheet because I can't remember everything about it. And February was a pretty good start to the season. Do you remember February, Jack? How good we were in February? 3 wins out of 4. Oh, good times then, weren't they? Dizzy times of February.
Weird times.
Weird times. We started off away to Wakefield with a good 24-16 win. And then we trounced the treble winners, Leeds, 56-12, which at the time everybody said it's because Leeds were rubbish and they had injuries and stuff, but we knew we were better than that. We then went away to Salford and got beat, because Salford keep beating us this year for some unknown reason.
Weird.
Yeah, and then we went away to Huddersfield and won for the first time in, well, a long, long time. I don't know the exact amount of years. Do you know it, Jack? Stato, man? Just say a number.
1 million.
1 million years it was. First time in 1 million years we'd won at Huddersfield, so only really old people could remember that one. And then going into March, again, started off brilliantly. We had a home win to Hull KR, which I remember that was a night game and we grounded out. Do you remember that game? Mm-hmm. It was a bit of a boring game, but then the week after, we had a couple of Sky games actually. We battered Hull FC at home when they locked the manager in the room afterwards, and then went on a good run, and then followed probably our highlight of the season, would you say, away to Wigan. when we won 18-12. And do you remember the celebrations, Jack? Anything in particular stand out to you?
I took off my shirt.
You did take off your shirt, and of course a load of random strangers started kissing you for some reason. I thought I was going to lose my son in that one. But then sadly after that, because I remember looking on the internet, and at that point we were 12-1 to be league leaders, which is pretty mental. But then after that, I think we lost. I just scanned down. We lost 7 in a row, did we? 8 was it? Yeah. We then lost 8 games in a row. Away to Wyre, at home to St Helens, which was the worst game I've ever seen. It was just terrible. Away to Catalans, then we lost at home to Castleford after being 18-0 up, I remember. And then we lost at home to Warrington, which was obviously my low point of the season, because it was also the same day that my mother passed away. So I didn't really care about the rugby, to be honest, at that point. So that's definitely the low point of the season. But then at the end of that losing run was a kind of a high point, because it was Magic Weekend. And what was special about Magic Weekend, Jack?
You got to go on the pitch.
I did get to go on the pitch with that big shiny check and get to be in the papers and meet BBC people and stuff, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as good as meeting Mark and Tom, though, but it was pretty good. We then beat Huddersfield, lost. We then went a bit of an up and down patch. We beat Huddersfield, lost to Hull, beat Castleford, lost to Wigan, beat Leeds, and then we came into a patch where, was that the middle eights? No, it wasn't the middle. It was coming up to the middle eights, wasn't it? We then got beat to Saints.
Super 8.
Super 8s. Super 8s this year we were. And I'm so used to us being mediocre that I'm calling it middle 8s. We got beat by Saints, beat Salford. No, we got beat by Salford, didn't we? Yeah. You're the statter, you should be reading these out for me. We then beat Castleford and Catalans, we beat Catalans, and then we played Catalans in the Super 8s then, was it the first game?
Yeah.
Yes, right, okay, I know where I am now. Then we got beat by Catalans, absolutely tonked 38-0 by Hull FC, and I remember that was on Sky as well, that one, and that was just an embarrassment. And then we had 2 good wins, one against Wakefield and then one away to Wigan, where we had, was it 15 men sent off, did we have in that game? 2 sin-binned. I think Dennis Betts was sent to the stands, a couple of fans got evicted.
Set the whole team off the pitch.
They did. Everyone went off. I think we all had to leave the stadium, and still Wigan couldn't score a try because of our brilliant, fair-playing defence that didn't hold anyone down.
Fair play to Liam Farrell for getting the try.
It was, yeah, that was a consolation try we allowed them to have, didn't we, if I remember rightly. But that was probably the only good bit of the Super 8s, because then we had a really poor run. Then we lost the next 3 in a row, including we let Warrington beat us, because we've done that this year just for fun. And we got beat by Saints, where the only game we went late to. Remember, I got stuck in traffic.
Yes.
Yeah, I took a detour thinking I knew where I was going, and ended up missing the kickoff. And we didn't see Cartoon Dog Swifty's first try, did we?
No.
And then we ended the season with a brilliant away defeat to Castleford, which was another rubbish game. And that was pretty much our season. It was very up and down. We thought we were going to be the Leicester of the league, and we ended up being the Leicester of the 2014 league and just being pretty rubbish. But who would you say was player of the year, Jack?
Rhys Hambry.
Rhys Hambry. And why would you say Rhys Hambry? Do you think you've held the line from defence? You thought he was good coming from his attack was better, didn't you? This year coming forward, and he's always pretty good in the air. He doesn't drop many, to be fair to Rhys. Mine is Mr. Matt Whitley. He's also Young Player of the Year, I suppose, isn't he? He had a fantastic season, and that's pretty much it. We've gone over 6 minutes, so you can cut it in half if you want this review, because I got half of it wrong in the middle. Yeah. And just leave Jack bits in if you want. Just Jack saying yes and smiling at the microphone. All right, guys. Thanks very much. Ta-ra.
Ta-ra.
Okay, well, it was wonderful to, again, 3 stalwarts of the Super League pod there. We'll get to Paul O'Brien in a second. Let's talk about our newly crowned Super Listener of the Year, Jack Lewis. You know when you were a kid? Do you remember when we were kids and we'd play like football in the playground and stuff? And when I was young, because I'm a couple of years older than you, the argument when we would pick teams was who was going to be Cantonara, who would be Lineker and things like that. Kind of feels like that's what happened with us. Well, who do you want to be out of Tom? I'm like, I'll be Tom. You can't be Tom. I'm being Tom. You have to be Mark.
Well, to be fair,
what a gentleman. What a good lad.
Paul did show more Tom-like traits in totally mucking up on the factual information.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely.
As it went along.
It's more about being the creative factor.
What I didn't like is the use of the word "unfortunately."
I know.
He explained to young Jack that he had to be me.
Yes.
That's unfortunately.
Honestly,
I think Jack could make a fine mark of Super League pod in future years to come. He knows his stuff, does the kid.
And away from the podcast, if you can be the sort of guy that Mark is away from the podcast, you're definitely on a winner. You don't want to be too much like Tom on that respect. So, is that your ego sufficiently massaged? Can we?
Well, it makes up for what the lose is. It's great of them to touch on the Magic Weekend experience.
Absolutely,
that was as well as his highlight of his season. It was one of my highlights of our season.
Yeah, definitely.
Was hearing about his experience there and the way he was able to honour his mum, who lost a battle with cancer this year. So thanks to those guys for that. And to Paul, did I hear a little bit of maybe negative reaction to some of the stuff Paul was saying going on in the middle of Paul O'Brien's there?
A dissenting voice or some sort of possession going on, I would assume.
I think between him and his young daughter, though, they did pick on the two brightest spots probably of Widnes' campaign.
100%.
Widnes' season, to me, I know Paul and Jack went through it in a month by month. I think you can break it
Tom and Tom.
I think you can break it down into 4 separate chunks. They were outstanding for the start of the year. They were first after 6 rounds with 6 straight wins. They were scoring 35 points a game, conceding only 13 points a game. Blowout home wins over Leeds and Hull FC were highlights, as well as away wins at 2015 semi-finalists Wigan and Huddersfield. Brown and Mellor were looking like the best half pair in the league. Then came not 8 but 9 straight losses, a derby double from Warrington and 2 defeats at the hand of Salford. They put their top 8 spot in the balance. The guys, another group of fans touching on, if Leeds and Huddersfield hadn't been so diabolical, we'd have been in trouble. The 9 straight losses then was followed by the third stage of the season, which was an inconsistent 1-win, 1-loss run that Ludo had problems keeping up with. But that went from round 16 to round 23. But they won enough to keep themselves in the top 8. They were effectively able to beat the sides that were below them in the table, whilst losing to those above them, really, to finish 7th on 20 points after the regular season. Then the final stage, Super 8s, they talked about the 2 wins in the Super 8s, the upset at Wigan that effectively ended our League Leaders Shield chances, and the hammering of Wakefield, the only side closer to the beach than the Vikings themselves were, I think, in that last period. It was a case of getting the season finished for them at that stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations to Widnes. We had them both pages being in the qualifiers, didn't we? And their early season form, when everyone was banding them about as, are they going to be the Leicester City of rugby league and all that lot? Their early season form is effectively what saved them, along with, as the lads alluded to, the form of Leeds and Huddersfield. I just wonder, is now the time for a new challenge for Dennis Betts, do you think? Do you think... Has he done as much as he can do with the infrastructure and what exists at Widnes? And is he now...
I'm not sure.
Ready to move on?
I'm not sure.
Is it not stagnant, but you've got to think that if Wigan had a poor season and there was a job vacancy going up at the DW, that his name would have been in the hat for a Wigan head coaching job. And now a couple of years is probably going to go by before that comes up again.
Do you think if they can sign, maybe, if they can get something great up front in the front row, that's going to make a lot of metres, then do you not think they've got a short window of the Brown-Mellor partnership in Hanbury still?
Possibly, yeah.
To make it count.
Possibly, and I like them at hooker as well. I do. They're a tight side. The thing is, again, it's depth, and if you have injuries in this Widnes side...
Depth and discipline.
All of a sudden, there's a big drop-off and a deficit between your first 17 and your next, 10, 15 players.
Yeah.
And that's the issue for me.
But the Stars, it was a good debut year in Super League for Corey Thompson. He was second in the try-scoring charts with 27, fifth in clean breaks with 25, and finished the year with an impressive 9.2 per carry average gain. Joe Mellor, he continues to progress. He was he was an ever-present. He had a combined 27 tries and assists. That put him 7th overall in Super League in that tally. His 26